Okay, so what happens if you want to delete an entire record from a table? Well, what you can do, and it's actually easy when working with tables in Excel, you can find the record. Now, in this case, I'm flat out telling you which record to delete, but maybe you had to use the find feature that we used earlier to find that. Well, in this case, we just want to find record 3. So, or I should say row number 3, which is actually record number 2. So we find row number 3 and we right click on top of the row header and you hit delete row. Not clear contents, but you got to delete the row. And then that will delete that entire record. So that record about, there were 2 consecutive records about Costa Rica in here. Now one of them are gone. Now, what if you wanted to make sure that you didn't have duplicate records in a table? Now, this could be any table, but right here we are worried about, or we're concerned with the records of this company that provides tours, tour guided vacations. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that, now remember, we have got tours, we've got multiple tours like Yellowstone that you can see right here. We've got 2 separate tours of Yellowstone. But look, these start on separate dates. So those are not duplicates. It's the same tour, but duplicate dates. So we want to make sure that we don't have duplicates in here anywhere of information. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here and click inside this table, anywhere inside the table, and again we want to go under the Table Tools Design tab and you want to click Remove Duplicates. Now in this case we really want to just make sure the only ones that's really important to make sure that you're looking for duplicates is the tour and the tour date, or the tour and the depart date, because you could have multiple tours and you're probably going to have different number of days or different seat capacity or different seat reserve. Now in this case all we really have to make sure are selected our tour and depart date. You also need to make sure that you select My Data Has Headers, and this table does have a header. Again, that's that first row that is your tour, your depart date, number of days and whatnot. So I'm just going to click OK because we can just leave all these as the same. And then it tells me that Excel found 2 duplicate values and removed them. So now they have 62 unique values remain. And basically what that's telling you is that you had 2 occurrences in here where you had a duplicate in here where apparently the same record had been entered multiple times. Now it could have been one record was entered 3 times. It could have been that 2 records were entered 2 times, meaning they had the exact same tour and the exact same depart date. And now all of those are gone because depending upon the size of the database, and essentially this is a database, the more data that's in a database, the slower the database runs. So you do want to make sure that you don't have any duplicate information inside this. So I want to click OK. And then the next thing that we want to do is, now earlier we put in this additional column, the seats available, and we don't really need this. So now we want to come over here and delete the seats available field. And this is actually column I. Now because we have, because of how we've created this table, instead of seeing, when I scroll down, we actually see the headers. But if I want to actually see the column letter, I'd have to scroll all the way up to the top. And I want to delete this entire field because we really don't need it. And you got to understand something. Why, if we didn't need it, why did we put it in? Well, if you don't put in an unnecessary column, then how are you going to know how to delete an unnecessary column/field? So we're going to delete this one the exact same way we deleted that row. And you want to right click on the row heading. And actually, this is one of those things when using Excel online that doesn't work out exactly the way that I think it's going to work out. We actually have to come down here. And if you come down to the bottom, you see this little marker right here? This indicates the last row and column where it's actually a part of this table. Now, removing the row or removing a record was easy enough, but if you want to remove a field, you're going to have to come over here and grab this little black handle and click, hold, and drag this to the left so that column I is no longer part of the table. And now that it's no longer part of the table, if you could just right click the column header for I and go to delete columns. But in this case, you could also just delete the text that's in cell I1 and be done with it. But I'm going to delete that entire column, which it was no longer part of that table anyway. So the next thing we want to do is we want to sort this data in a particular order. And again, whether it be something like a teacher's roster where it's sorted first by last name and then by first name, you got to figure out how you want to sort this. Maybe you want to make it easy to find all of your specific tours, or maybe you want to find all of your tours by depart date or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here under the depart date filter button. This is a button right here, and we're going to click it. And we want to sort this in ascending order. Now here we're talking about dates, and so we're talking about oldest dates to newest dates. Now if you were doing this in the desktop version, because this column is formatted as a date, it would say oldest to newest as your option. But here in the online version of Excel, you simply get ascending or descending. So we want to take this and sort it by ascending order. And when you do that, it shows us the earliest dates all the way down to the latest dates. And if you look at this button right here, you can now see that there's an arrow here that points up. And that means that this is an ascending order. So if you were to look at these dates, you start out with January the 12th, January the 19th, January 21st, January 28th, February 22nd, and all the way to the end of this, which is in December the 31st. And you could go through all 60-ish of these and verify that that is correct or not, but I promise you that it is. So next, let's say that you decided that you wanted to sort in a different method in a different field. So what we're going to do now is let's go to the price column, and you wanted to sort these most expensive trips to least expensive. So you would come over here to the price field and click on this button, and then you would click sort descending, or highest amount to lowest amount. So you see the highest or the most expensive trip that we have here is $4,870. And again, notice here how you've got the arrow that points down on this filter button on column F. And the one that we previously did for depart date is now gone, because basically what we've just done is we have sorted this data a different way 2 different times. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a custom sort. And a custom sort will allow you to sort data in by multiple criteria. So what we're going to do now, to do that, I want to go up here and I want to click the data tab that's on the it's up here, and then you click the button that says custom sort. All right, so it opens up this custom sort field, and what we're going to do is, first of all, we want to sort it by tour. So here where it says sort by, you select tour, and the order you want it to be in is ascending order, A to Z. Now again, on the online version of Excel, all you get is ascending or descending. In the desktop version, this would say A to Z because this is formatted as text. And then once we sort it by tour, we want to click Add. Because the next thing we want to sort it by is by depart date. So we click on the arrow for depart date. And then we want to change the, we want to make it descending, which is oldest to newest. And then you click OK. And as you look at these now, you can look and see, for example, go to the top, you can see African National Parks, and it's the October 1st. The October 27th depart date's listed first. The April 8th is listed second. Then you got Amazing Amazon. You got August, April, February. Then you look at Biking in France. You've got two of those. You got September, then May. So what happens if you decide you want to do it yet another method? Well, you'd have to come back and click Custom Sort again. And let's just say something simple. For example, you wanted to make this ascending order. All right, ascending order would be oldest or earliest, if you will, to the latest or the last departure date. So now I click OK, and now it just takes all those, and they're still listed first in by the tour, but then the next criteria that they look at is they are sorted by the date. Okay, so remember, in this case what we did was we sorted it twice. Really, the way we did it, we sorted it two different times, and both of those we sorted it by two different methods. Okay, all right. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to go over to another column. And we actually want to come back to cell I2. And I think I accidentally misread my instructions earlier, and that's perfectly okay. I actually want to put back in the seats available field. And when I hit the Enter key, notice how that this column becomes part of this table again, just like it did the first time we did this. So what we want to do here is we want to put a calculation in here, and this is going to work a little bit different than the desktop version. The desktop version, we could actually, because this is a table, we could use what's called a structured reference, where instead of putting in column letters, that we put in the names of the columns or the field names instead of the cell addresses. So we're just, in this case, because it's the Excel Online, we just have to put in the cell addresses. So I want to put in equal sign. All formulas start with an equal sign. And we want to put in seat capacity, which seat capacity is in cell D2. You can either point and click, or you can manually type in D2, and then minus seats reserved. And then when you hit enter, because this is formatted as a table, this formula is going to automatically fill down to the very last cell in the table. So I just hit the enter key, and then you see how this automatically filled down. Now earlier I told you that in order for a table to truly be a table, that it's got to have the functionality of a table. Well, what you just saw indicates that this does have the functionality of a table, and therefore not only does this look like a table, it actually is a table. Then the next thing we want to do